Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Carrow Road for the final time in the 2024-25 campaign. Norwich City hosting already relegated Cardiff. Plenty going on in the Championship in terms of playoffs, in terms of the title, in terms of relegation. Sadly, absolutely nothing riding on this game at Carrow Road. But it is an opportunity, of course, for Norwich City to bid farewell to Angus Gunn, Onel Hernandez, Jakob Sorensen. I'm sure there will be others out there as well playing probably for the final time for Norwich City today. Callum Doyle, we could maybe list a few others, but clearly we've got a summer to work all of that out. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. There's a few sort of bananas in the away end from Cardiff. We've got flags in the Barclay. It's it's a lovely day for it, Paddy, isn't it? And we're going to find out the Norwich City team news very, very shortly. But and we know this because the club have put it out already. Antti Sienats looks like he's back in the matchday squad.
Yeah, I'm looking at my screen of a picture of him smiling with his footballer bag underneath his arm. And so that would tell me he's in the squad. Jack said yesterday he trained, he was back in training. So it was just a check with the medical staff. And clearly that conversation has led to a positive outcome in terms of, be surprised to see him into the 11 straight away, but certainly on the bench, and that's good.
And here is the team news. So Norwich City line up with Angus Gunn in goal, and he captains Norwich City this afternoon on, of course, his farewell appearance. McConville, Duffy, Doyle and McLean in the back four. Wright, Nunez and Forson as the midfield three, with Stacey, Sainz and Sargent up front. So just to run through that again, Angus Gunn in goal. He captains Norwich City on his final appearance for the club this afternoon. McConville, Duffy, Doyle and McLean as the back four. Wright, Nunez and Forson as the midfield three, with Stacey, Sainz and Sargent up front. The subs bench, Reyes, Cordoba, Sorensen, Slimani, Schwartau, Gibbs, Hernandez, Sienats and Dylan Jones. Plenty to dissect there, Pad, but I think we'll go straight into midfield with Amankwa Forson. I couldn't tell you the last time he started, certainly a league game. Obviously, he started the FA Cup game against Brighton when he injured his knee. But it's been a fair while since he started a league game for Norwich City.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I didn't think Slimani was particularly impressive at Borough. And so, therefore, with a view to what could come down the line, irrespective of who the head coach is, I think it's a good opportunity to have a look at Forson in this environment. There's no pressure for him today. He's not going to be judged harshly or otherwise. So, as we know, pains me to say it, but his commentary impact here, and that was really all we've seen of him, mainly, due to injury, but he's through that now. And he did some media, didn't he, a week or so ago we picked up, and he was talking about, he has no regrets. It's just one of those seasons that test you. Thank you. But that he's loving life. He's loving everything about being part of this club and this group. And let's hope, because a lot of what we get into in this discussion and hopefully what we see on the pitch today is with a filter of, well, what could that mean for next season? And with Forson, we've seen what he can do. Not seen enough of it, but we've seen glimpses of his potential. Let's see a little bit more today, and then we can go away thinking, okay, with a good pre-season, maybe he's going to be in and around that starting central midfield. Yeah,
and of course he started the season very well, didn't he? It was probably one of, if not the only, shining light that came out of that Oxford game on the opening day of the season, which in many ways feels both like a lifetime ago and like 5 minutes ago. A really good opportunity for him to end the season with a start. Look, we've got to go to Angus Gunn, we're captain's aside, final appearance. We know all of that. I know he's got all of his family here this afternoon. It's going to be an emotional one for him, you would think today, given his connections and ties, and obviously how much this club means to him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to definitively say it's the last time we see him in a Norwich shirt because of those ties and that attachment he has to this place. And in goalkeeping terms, what is he? 28, I think I'm right in saying he's around about that, isn't he?
29, yeah.
In goalkeeping, pure goalkeeping terms, he's got a good few years ahead of him if he looks after himself and stays clear of injury. So never say never, but this is the close of this chapter, and I'm sure there will be a sadness to it, but maybe an acknowledgement actually, that for him as much as for Norwich, it probably makes sense on various levels. I know there's a lot of fans rightly questioning, well, how do you find somebody as good as him at this stage in the Championship? And that is the challenge for Ben Napper now. It certainly isn't George Long, that's for sure. I don't think it's Vicente Reyes next season, so they will have to be active. I can see two incoming keepers, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And one of those will have to be a front line, ready to go. This guy can step either up if he's coming from a lower league or in if he's coming from overseas. And in very short order, try and exert in his best spells here at Norwich, the reassuring presence that Angus Gunn gave at the back of that Norwich defence. And for him on a personal level, you just hope he has a really memorable farewell, like John Ruddy, to draw a parallel with keepers did, like Wes. Team didn't get the result he wanted, did he, against Blackpool? But just that he, as you say, with his family here, they get to experience all that it is and get the love, which I'm sure there'll be plenty of, shown towards him for what he is, which is a Norwich boy and a Norwich fan.
Yeah, and the other two, of course, we spoke to Onel on Thursday night. We did a live podcast here at Carrow Road for the Norwich City Fan Social Club with Onel and Jack Stacey. And I think you could sense then maybe it hadn't quite sunk in, but there was clearly from him a lot of emotion about what today will mean. And we were expecting him to get on the pitch at some point. And look, we could have a debate about what Onel Hernandez has been in the last 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, that's a man with 2 championship titles, over 200 appearances on his CV. I mean, you don't do that if you're a terrible footballer. So we can argue about the output and maybe how his levels have dropped over recent years. But look, there's no doubt that when he emerges to warm up this afternoon from the Snake Pit, the Barclay, he's a very popular figure here, even today.
Yeah, I mean, we can have that debate, and we've had those debates about rating him as a player, rating him as an impact. But I kind of look at it, and Kenny McLean's another good example. What did Norwich pay, and what they got back in return, in terms of longevity, in terms of buying into the philosophy, in terms of being big, small, you could debate, but in parts of 2 very successful periods. And I don't think there's any doubt that Norwich have got value for money from Onel Hernandez. So, again, somebody who's got Norwich, having come here, rather than being steeped in it like the Gunn family, but I'm sure there will be a lot of sadness. And as he said at that event on Thursday, which we'll turn around and that'll be available on our channels to watch or to listen to. Really, really great hour or so of conversation with Jack and Onel. You can't watch that and think anything other than this is a guy who does have green and yellow in his blood, to quote a Farkerism. So, yeah, I just hope he can. The game state can be such that he can get on the park and just get that ovation maybe one more time. I'm sure when he emerges to warm up for the first time in that first half, he will get that from the Snake Pit, from the lower Barclay. So, yeah, but again, like with Gunny, for me and Sorensen, the wheel has to turn, and it's not been anywhere near good enough this season. I'm not pinning it on those individuals, but they are representative of probably a squad that needs changing and turning over. And they won't be by any manner of means the only players who leave from the ones on display today. Yeah,
look, today is about sentiment. It is about saying goodbye to those guys, and the fans will get their opportunity to do that. But Jack Wilshere made it very clear yesterday. It's about business as well. It's about winning this game and injecting some optimism into this fan base to head into the summer and next season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, probably Jack Wilshere's thinking it's quite big in another context as well. What
context that?
Well, it is job prospects maybe, but yeah, he's not wrong, is he, to state that? He's not wrong to say that, the fans who've particularly been here this season, after maybe some bright September, October, November, I think, I'm trying to think what month was the Luton and Plymouth doubleheader when they put those teams to the sword and scored a lot of goals. But certainly the second part of the season hasn't been great. Hasn't been great if you're a home fan coming to watch that, performance-wise, result-wise. Is this the first time we're back here since Portsmouth? Well, I mean, there you go. I mean, if they cannot build on,
they can't be as bad as that.
You would hope not. But what I'm saying is that the feeling that day, that has to be the complete polar opposite today. And I know the caveat is Cardiff are already down, and what do they materially have to play for? And that's true. Nobody's going to dispute that. But send these fans away with a little bit of optimism. It doesn't. And nobody's getting carried away and thinking you put Cardiff to the sword today, everything's fine and dandy. A lot has to happen. We've already just touched on the last segment. A lot has to happen in the transfer window that's coming in very short order now to really equip this group of players, in whoever's hands the head coach will be, to be far better than mid-table cannon fodder, which is ultimately where they are this season. So, yeah, today's another example, as Borough was away, in a different type of game and a different type of game state, as Jack alluded to yesterday, but that felt like a positive afternoon. And those away fans, you referenced it after the game of your verdict, those away fans liked what they saw. So today, let's send these home fans home liking what they see, and whether it's a Wiltshire Norwich they see beyond today or not, at least feeling that, okay, nobody's going to downplay how poor this season has been ultimately, but
as Angus Gunn emerges, you might hear a ripple of applause. Angus Gunn has just emerged for his warm-up.
Nice, yeah. So, and there'll be a lot of that today. But But I thought Jack struck the right tone in terms of that sentimental element. Albeit he's got the armband today, so maybe that is a nod to it. But you can't lean into that too much. They have to win today, and the best send off for those guys is a performance and a win, and probably some goals thrown in as well. Maybe even a clean sheet if we're going to be greedy, and then they get what they want, and Norwich fans get what they want.
Absolutely. Look, we could sit here and reflect on the season. We've got a podcast to do post-game where we'll probably go into some more of that stuff. But looking at the awards, Paddy, because clearly today, before today's game, the player of the season, as it does, is going to get announced. Josh Sargent has won that. Kellen Fisher in second. Borja Sainz in third. I mean, how close is that to the top three that you would have? Because I think for me, that's pretty much bang on in terms of how I saw it. I think there's maybe an argument to swap Sainz and Fisher around, but am I mad about it? Not really.
No, and the winner is a worthy one. So, and Jack alluded to it yesterday, not just his impact that we all see on the pitch and the goals per games ratio either side of, another frustrating injury interlude, 14 games missed after groin surgery, but clearly his impact off the pitch. You got the sense of that, and I thought that some of the more recent documentaries, the on-the-ball stuff that the club put out, that he's a big character in the dressing room. He's one that maybe through his performance rather than what he says necessarily, younger players particularly will row in with him and see him as a leader. And Jack alluded to that, how helpful he's been in that regard, taking the temperature almost of the dressing room. So, yeah, absolutely no doubt a fitting recipient of the Barry Butler. And I don't want to talk it up, but, James Madison, that was one of the last acts he did before he departed. And, I fear that might be the case for Sargent. But we'll part that one and pick it up again at some point later in the summer.
There was a bad run, wasn't there, for a little while, 3 or 4 years, the people that won it left. But Sarah won it year one, so he obviously, Kenny McLean stayed, and they both stayed.
They won it the year.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, Pookie won it a couple of times and didn't go. So yeah, you can pick it. You can pick examples. Andy Marshall is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is this City legend chips in with you? I mean, you won it a few times, didn't you? So twice. There you go. So he's in esteemed company, that's for sure. And Kellen Fisher, young player of the season as well. I think we've spoken about him on numerous occasions and how impressive he has been over the course of the season. Probably his consistency above all else, because he, at such a young age, his first real. I know he was involved last year, but didn't play too much. And the starts he did make, I think two of the 3-4 that he made, he was taken off at half time. It's been it is the Ewan Roberts behind us. It's been a fantastic season for him, and fully deserved that accolade, I thought.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, and he is a shining light, really, because he has had that consistency, and you keep hearing that. Johannes talked about the lack of. Jack has talked about it in the last 10 days or so. Well, there's a player who has had a lot to contend with, different positions, as well as that step up to being a consistent, regular Championship star. It's a great story, to come from where he's come from in terms of non-league and Bromley, and just shows you there are players down at those levels who could, with not too much polishing, can turn out to be what he is now, which I think moving forward, irrespective of who the head coach is going to be an integral part of it next season. And it's credit to him and his attitude, like Jack alluded to, talked about yesterday. It's not just his quality, but it's his application, it's his desire, it's his maturity almost to handle those different responsibilities within the team shape and not look like that phased him. So it's just a shame he obviously, he's picked up that end of season injury, but I've got no doubt in what feels like a summer of flux, he's going to be one of the constants moving forward.
Yeah, and Jack Wilshere was full of praise for him. Let's bring you the Cardiff team. This is how they line up. Obviously, already relegated. They're the only team at the moment. Plymouth as good as down, but there's a potential that they could score 14 goals against Leeds at home today and stay up. But I think that's extremely unlikely. They line up with Horvath in goal, Kapako, Fish, Chambers, and O'Dowda as about 4. Riles and Turnbull, and Norwich City name of yesteryear there in midfield. Ashford and Alves with Robertson behind Salesh as well. Matthew Turner, Jesper Delland, Chris Willock, Joel Bagan, Ruben Colwill, Roko Simic, Dylan Lawler, Tataswa Niyakawu, and Troy Perrott on the bench. I've butchered that. I really apologise to him. But that is how Cardiff line up, of course, in the dugout for them, Paddy, which is, I think, probably going to attract some national interest after this game, is Aaron Ramsey, who, Jack Wilshere only played more games with one Arsenal player. Any guess on who that might be, just out of interest?
No, you're throwing me there. Was it his fellow midfielder or?
Right back.
No, I can't say Arsenal.
Sanya, but over 100 games those two played for Arsenal.
The killer stat was the one I put to him, which I saw on the BBC Sport.
He's impressed with that, I thought.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far, but but you need to get out more, I think, is what he was saying. But but that effectively they made within 2 minutes of each other their Premier League debuts in a 4-0 away win for Arsenal at Blackburn. You remembered it was Blackburn, 208 that was. I think Jack was 16 and I think Aaron had just come from Cardiff and he was 17. And yeah, unfortunately for them, injuries really took the edge off what were two threatening to be very stellar careers, but still, achieved a lot together. So, but I didn't get the sense, Jack said himself he hadn't been on the phone. I didn't get the sense their relationship is that close. That in terms of their shared playing history, yes, but I'm sure that's a nice little sideline maybe that the national media will be all over today. But yeah, I don't think Jack's hoping that Aaron does him any favours. I think he probably knows they're going to have to. And to be fair, I think he's had 2 games, hasn't he, and 2 draws. So he has got something out of that Cardiff group. It's just, unfortunately, it probably was too much to do in terms of staying in the division. And I think he's said in his media, hasn't he, in the days leading into this game, that he wants to remain a player. So it doesn't feel like he's going to be moving forward Cardiff's replacement on a permanent basis, which is very much not the situation Jack hopes for in terms of here at Norwich. So let's see, who gets the upper hand today.
Yeah, we've touched upon it, and we've obviously spoken a lot about the 2 games that Jack's been given as the interim head coach. I mean, how big is today for him? Maybe a shop window for fans? Is that too much to read into it? I mean, clearly he sort of pushed back on the audition kind of vibes when you put them to him last week. But that is going to be a lot of where these fans' focus are, on him, on what the team produce, and what a Jack Wilshere Norwich City looks like today. Well,
I mean, on that point, most of these fans, their only kind of reference or benchmarking will be what they saw at Middlesbrough in terms of not so much result, but output and that commitment from that group of players, and today, because they don't see the day-to-day. They're not in and around Colney. They haven't seen the impact he's had maybe since October in terms of building those relationships and how maybe Ben Napper's observed them at close quarters. So, yeah, it's quite understandable that these fans, certainly, and us to a degree, would let a lot of heavy lifting be done by these 2 games and the 2 weeks that have gone into it. But I don't think for one moment Ben Napper is going to be swayed either way by what he's seen in this period. It maybe reinforces what he already thinks. I thought it was very telling in those Johannes interview sound bites that came out from Denmark midweek. Less so about him and what he felt about the situation, more so the section about Jack, about he was clearly brought in to be a Norwich head coach of the future. So that succession plan is there, it's in place. Jack himself said nobody expected it 10 months down the path that we would be at this crossroads. But the fact that Ben identified him as head coach calibre for Norwich, he's in the building, he's doing the job. It's not a huge leap of faith to think that, he goes on to get the gig full time.
And we, of course, we'll keep you updated with all of that, because I think even though the season's going to end, I think we're going to be quite busy over the next few weeks and months. How do you see it going today then, Paddy? I mean, clearly, you would hope Norwich City can sign off with a win. I mean, Blackpool, here a couple of years ago in that Thames Bookie farewell can show you it's not always plain sailing against a relegated team, and sometimes it can free them up as much as freeing Norwich up.
Bit of a frog here, Connor, but you've got to think though that you pull all the strands together. You've got Gunny and Onel and Youngie. You've got, hypothetically at this stage, but not beyond the realms, Sargent, Science, and Nunez. Well. Yeah, they depart at some point over the summer. So there's a lot of players here for personal, selfish reasons will want to perform today. And then the collective, we spoke to Jack Stacey, we spoke to Onel, effusive almost in the impact Jack Wilshere has had. We saw the tune he got out of them last week. You'd expect that to continue and maybe even be better for another week's work on the Colney training pitches. The flip side of that is what will Cardiff materially have to play for? Their pride, yes, but so all of that to me, you would hope leads to a handsome win today, 2 or 3.
And I agree. I'm going to go with a 3-0 Norwich win. I think for the reasons that you said, it would be really nice. I think for Onel if he could break his championship duck here in terms of league goals and get on the score sheet. That would be nice. But win primarily. How much of your attention is going to be dedicated to looking at events at the CBS today?
No.
Stay out of it.
Just this pitch is all that matters today, Connor. I know the outcome. That if you've followed them as long as I have, they'll disappoint you eventually. It's just when. So if they squeeze through today, they probably won't do too much in the playoffs. So that's my pessimistic outlook on life, but generally. But put it this way: if it's the Borough who we saw last week, then Coventry will see them off, because I thought they were pretty poor. As good as Norwich were. they didn't have to do much to be better than that Borough team, and I think that it felt like we were there. The mood around the place felt a bit fractious with the fan base. Doesn't feel to me like Borough are really heading in the right direction. So, but don't rule out Alex Neil in Millwall. I know they've got a tough assignment at Burnley, but yeah, it's just it is a bit sad that the drama and excitement's going to be elsewhere, and we're not really part of it, are we? So, hopefully next season.
Yeah, I was just trying to get up Chris Gorham's tweet because he produced a brilliant stat last night that I saw about the top 7. I've got it in front of me here. So the top 7 managers in the Championship going into the final day. 2 have managed Norwich, of course, Daniel Farker and Alex Neil. 1 played for Norwich, Scott Parker, and 1 is from Norwich, Liam Manning. But sadly, no actual Norwich in the mix. And hopefully in 12 months' time, we are talking about a final day that perhaps, well, hopefully doesn't have jeopardy and Norwich are in the top 2 and up to the Premier League. That would be the dream, but hopefully has perhaps some more positivity injected in it as opposed to just the sentiment that today will be. We will, of course, have all of the events this afternoon and beyond covered at pinken.com. You can find out how to take a subscription out as well. And, of course, thank you from myself and Paddy, from Adam and from Sam as well for consuming this and all of our other content throughout the Championship season. It's certainly not been a dull one. So thank you for following it with us across the way. And, if this is the last we see of you, which I'm sure it won't be over the summer, then have a good summer. See you soon.